All right, let's talk about one of the all-time great superpowers. What if you could just stop time? You get to walk around in this frozen world, a perfect, silent moment that's all yours. It sounds incredible, right? Well, as it turns out, the laws of physics have a few notes.
I mean, come on, we've all had this fantasy. You snap your fingers, and suddenly, you're the master of the universe. But what actually happens when the fundamental rules of reality are just put on pause? Well, the answer is a lot more complicated, and frankly, a lot more terrifying than you'd think.
So you do it. Snap. And just like that, everything stops cold. Raindrops just hang in the air like these tiny, perfect glass beads. The light from a car's headlights, it's now a solid, visible pillar you could almost reach out and touch. It's beautiful. It's totally silent. It's your own private museum of a single instant. But then, you notice something's wrong. Very, very wrong.
Yeah, that moment of absolute godlike power is immediately followed by absolute darkness. The first and most immediate problem with stopping time isn't that you're a superhero. It's that you can't see a single thing. It's a far question, right? I mean, all the lights are still on, they're just frozen. The light itself is still out there, hanging in the air. So why are you suddenly plunged into total blindness? Well, it all comes down to what seeing actually is.
See, here's the thing you have to remember. Vision isn't just about light existing. It's about light moving. Photons, these tiny little particles of light, have to travel from a lamp or the sun, bounce off an object, and then physically enter your eyeball for your brain to process an image. They have to be in motion.
And that is our big problem. The second you freeze time, you also freeze every single photon in the universe. They just stop dead in their tracks, hanging there like a cloud of frozen dust. Nothing new is traveling into your eyes, so your brain gets zero new information. The result? Instant, complete blackness.
Now, there is a really bizarre workaround. You could, theoretically, still see. But you couldn't just look at things. You would have to physically move forward to basically run into the frozen photons that were already on their way to you. By doing this, you'd collect one single static frame of the world, like looking at a photograph. If you want to see something else, you have to move again. So forget walking around like a master of time, you'd be stumbling around completely blind.
Okay, so you're blind. That's really bad. But maybe you're thinking, okay, I can deal with that. I'll just feel my way around. I'm sorry to say, physics has another nasty surprise for you. You try to take a step, and you can't move. You try to take a breath, and you can't.
To get why, you got to rethink what air actually is. We think of it as, empty space, but it's not. It's a fluid. It's made of trillions of molecules, nitrogen, oxygen, all zipping around at hundreds of miles per hour. That constant motion is what lets us move through it and, breathe it. But when time stops, so does all that motion.
Every single molecule of air freezes exactly where it is. The gas that you were just effortlessly walking through a second ago has become an immovable, invisible solid. The entire atmosphere is now one single rigid object, and you are encased perfectly inside of it.
And the consequences are, well, immediate and absolute. You can't take a breath because the solid air molecules won't flow into your lungs. You can't even lift your arm because you'd have to push against the wall of molecules that are locked in place. You are trapped, suffocating, and completely paralyzed in an invisible prison of your own making.
So this is just getting worse and worse, isn't it? But let's play along. Let's imagine some kind of magic protects you. You can see, you can breathe, you can even move through this solid air. Now, finally, you can enjoy your power, right? Well, this is where things go from being personally catastrophic to universally apocalyptic.
So, with our magic exceptions turned on, you take a single step. You see one of those frozen raindrops, and you reach out to touch it. Just a little tap. That simple, innocent act is about to break physics in the most spectacular way you can possibly imagine.
To understand why, we have to look at this very basic equation. We all learned it in school, right? Velocity equals distance divided by time. It's simple, it's elegant, and it's about to become really, really scary.
Because in our little scenario, you've done something pretty dramatic to that equation. You've moved some distance, let's say you moved your finger 1 centimeter, but the time you took to do it, it was 0. You are now dividing by 0.
And as anyone who's ever messed around with a calculator knows, when you divide a number by 0, you get an error. In physics terms, that's an undefined or infinite value. Any moving you make, no matter how tiny, no matter how slow you think you're being,
technically happens at an infinite velocity.
So what happens when something with mass moves at infinite velocity? It has infinite kinetic energy. That gentle little tap you were about to give that raindrop, you just hit it with basically infinite energy. We're talking the force of, well, more than everything.
And here's the apocalyptic punchline. The second you unfreeze time, all of that infinite energy you just put into the world gets released instantly. That single touch would unleash a wave of energy that would cause a cataclysmic explosion, probably triggering nuclear fusion and wiping the entire city and, let's be honest, a good chunk of the continent right off the map.
Okay, but let's say you're incredibly, impossibly careful. You stop time, you don't move a muscle, don't even breathe on a single air molecule, and then you restart time exactly 24 hours later. You've avoided blindness, suffocation, and total annihilation. Congratulations, you survived. Now comes the real problem.
You see, you successfully paused the entire universe for a day. The world doesn't just shrug that off. All the complex, interconnected systems that run our civilization are now hopelessly, completely broken. And you, my friend, are gonna get the bill.
And this is where it gets just beautifully absurd. By pausing the universal clock, every GPS satellite is now out of sync, causing total chaos in shipping, aviation, you name it. The global stock markets, which run on microsecond timing, are completely desynchronized, and you are now personally liable for trillions in lost trades. And my personal favorite, you have aged 24 hours while the rest of the world hasn't. Good luck explaining that to the Social Security Administration. That, my friend, is fraud.
Which brings us right back to the start. The power to stop time sounds like the ultimate form of freedom, but when you really look at it through the cold, hard lens of physics, it's a trap. It's a choice between being blind, suffocating, destroying the world, or drowning in an eternity of paperwork. So let me ask you again, still think it's worth it?